Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Module 5. I can't believe we're already halfway through this semester, and I wanted to give you some guidance on this particular module. So this week you are going to be reading Chapter 7 entitled Building Vocabulary. There are also 2 videos to watch about vocabulary strategies. So you're going to read that under the Learn section, and then under I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk about 2 of your assignments that you have for this module. So for this week, you have another strategy demonstration. And so you are to use the video tool and you are going to demonstrate a vocabulary strategy. Again, you're going to demonstrate a vocabulary strategy. So we want this to be hands-on. We want you to show us the strategy that you're using, and then you're going to be responding to colleagues. And you guys have done a really exceptional job with that. The second assignment is we have another case study. And so this is a 4th grade English language learner who's been in the country for 2 years. Now, I do want to note something. I have iReady data down below, but I want you to, where it says grade 3, it should be grade 4. So that's grade 4. And all of the grades here, it should be grade 4, grade 4, grade 4. So we can see this student tested out of phonological awareness, phonics, and high frequency words. But for vocabulary, again, at grade 4, not grade 3, the vocabulary, the student is below. In comprehension, they're below. And in literature and informational text, they are below. So instead of at grade 3, it needs to be grade 4. The Lexile is down below. The Lexile is 715. So we see that the student struggles with making connections, with content vocabulary, doesn't understand affixes, and has difficulty with figurative language. That is impacting the student's comprehension. So again, you need to write 3 SMART goals. Well, first you do a summary of your thoughts, 3 attainable SMART goals, and then 3 instructional strategies. And lastly, how will you integrate faith? My goal is to get you the case study grades from last week to you within the next couple of days so that you can use that to help you with this case study. So again, you're going to do vocabulary strategy, and then you have another case study. And the emphasis this week in the case study is vocabulary and how that vocabulary is impacting the student's comprehension. Okay, so a few things that I wanted to share with you about vocabulary. How did you learn vocabulary? Was it effective? I have 3 sons. One of them is actually sitting next to me today in my office. And my middle son, every week when he was in high school, the teacher would ask them to put their vocabulary words in sentences. And my son had a template that he would use for verbs, adverbs, nouns, etc. He did not know what the vocabulary meant. And I think his goal was to just use the same template the entire year. The teacher never said anything. Did my son learn those vocabulary? Nope, not at all, even though he wrote them in sentences. And so there are some strategies that are effective, and there are some that are not effective. What I want to show you is a website, and this website is called Visible Learning, and I strongly suggest you take a look at this. There's also a book called Visible Learning that's a synthesis of over 800 meta-analyses relating to achievement in schools. And so I can go to, and I'll send you the link to this. I can see all these different strategies and effects. So I'm going to go scroll down to vocabulary because I want to see what does the research say about vocabulary instruction. So I'm going to go here to vocabulary programs, and I can see that there are 12 meta-analyses. There are over 419 studies with over 8,000 students, and we have the effect size. Now you need to think that anything over 0.5 effect size is good. At a 1 is extremely good. And so we can see that we have a lot of different strategies or a lot of different studies. Here's a study that studies the effects of vocabulary instruction, and that had a 0.97 effect size, which is very, very good. Here we have another study that had a 1.04, very strong. But then we go down. This is a study, the impact of vocabulary instruction on passage level comprehension. It only had an effect size of 0.10. So I'm showing you this to show you that there are some strategies in vocabulary that are way more effective than other strategies. So we want to use those strategies that are appropriate. This website is a great website for looking up a lot of different strategies and so forth, and things that we do in our curriculum. I would challenge you to look at this. There's things on, like, for example, retention. If you look up the information about retention, you're going to see that it actually has a negative effect size. Accelerated reader, not good. So a lot of things that we believe are research-based, when you actually look at the research, they're not very good at all. So I would encourage you to look at visible learning and look at some of the strategies and see what's effective and what's not. Okay, a couple of things I want to show you now is we're going to look at Scarborough's reading rope, and you guys are probably familiar with this. And so this is a Scarborough designed this to model reading, and we can see we have language comprehension and word recognition. So that word recognition, that's what we've already talked about in this class. We've talked about and looked at phonological awareness, decoding, and sight words. Those are our foundational skills that have to be automatic. Now we get into language comprehension. So we're going to be looking at vocabulary and comprehension. So things like background knowledge. Vocabulary is breadth and precision. So breadth and precision. Are we using the precise word? Language structures, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge. So I wanted to show you this to show you that vocabulary is a part of that language comprehension. Vocabulary serves as a bridge between word level processes of phonics and cognitive processes for comprehension. It's critical. So a few things that we need to know about vocabulary. Children learn vocabulary by participating in a linguistic environment. So we have to teach vocabulary intentionally and incidentally. So incidentally will be through social conversations. Adult talk should be responsive, and children should hear cognitively challenging conversations. We want to be purposeful and productive book reading. So we want to have books that are really going to increase that vocabulary. We need to make sure vocabulary instruction's integrative. It should be an active process. It's going to be repetitive, like a lot of things that we do. Words and concepts are best when they're presented with multiple encounters. We need it to be generative. So by generative, I mean, if you're teaching vocabulary, if you teach root words and affixes and suffixes, once they know those affixes and suffixes, that can be applicable to other words. And then your own attitude is important. So your book talked about 3 different types of vocabulary. You have your tier 1 words. These are your academic words. These are your everyday words, your high frequency type words. Then you have tier 2. These are words that are generally appear in print rather than conversations. And many times they're more precise or give more breadth to common words. And then lastly, we have tier 3. These are words that come from specific content areas. So society, republic, reflection, symbolism, those are all vocabulary from content area. And so whatever content you're teaching, it would be that vocabulary related to that subject. This is a diagram that is in the Florida Best Standards. And when we think about what do we need for direct instruction, some vocabulary can be taught in context while others need direct instruction. So is the word representative of a family of words or a concept the student will need to know? If yes, will the word or phrase be needed in discussions? Oh, yes. Does it appear in the text and present an opportunity for students to use the context? If it doesn't, then you need to do direct instruction. So some words we can teach in context and reading, others we can't. And so we need to be careful about what specific words we're teaching directly. One thing that your book talked about is there is a process for teaching vocabulary. We want to make sure that we present words in context, in student-friendly terms. We're going to show the words visually, have the kids say the words. We need to define the words, but also give examples and non-examples. It would be great if your students had a vocabulary journal where they're keeping track of all their vocabulary, and use nonverbal representation. So this could be symbols or pictures. And then we need to engage in activities that foster that word and allow time for students to use the word, and then more than just writing in a sentence. And then, of course, we're going to be reviewing the words. So I'm going to go over a few strategies with you. One is a concept definition map. And here is an example of that. So if we had the word polygon, we know that polygon is a tier 3 word in math, right? So we're going to first give a definition. It's a mathematical shape. What is a polygon? Examples? Well, pentagon is a polygon. A hexagon is. A rhombus are all polygons. What is it like? Well, it's made of line segments. It's a closed figure. It's a plane figure. I need to add an E there. Should be plane figure. It's straight lines and it's 2-dimensional. So we can see if we did this, that the student would be able to know what that word meant. They know that it's a mathematical shape. They know examples and they know what it is like. So concept maps are great. Venn diagrams are another way that you can use if you're teaching concepts. So if you were teaching about different animals, herbivores and carnivores and even omnivores, you could have in the middle there. And so that might be an example. And so Venn diagrams are a way. One thing when I taught primary school, I had hula hoops, and I would put hula hoops down and we would have objects or pictures. So let's say that we were studying herbivores and carnivores. I remember once I had all these animal figures that belonged to my kids, and I had them put in the circle which animals belong to each group. And then you could put the 2 hula hoops kind of on top of each other like a Venn diagram, and the animals that were omnivores were in the middle. So that's a great way that you can make vocabulary active. A semantic map. This is an example. Here we have vertebrates, and we can see that birds, amphibians, reptiles, fish, and mammals, and so this is another way that we're visually showing the word. Semantic features analysis is a great strategy. And I'm just going to show you an example. This is like a graph here. Let's go back to our math word, quadrilateral. A rhombus, a square, rectangle, and trapezoid are quadrilaterals. Quadrilaterals are regular polygons. They have all right sides, one pair of parallel sides. And you can see here where we put a plus if it is an example of a quadrilateral. You could do the same thing. Here we have an example of dinosaurs. Okay, so this is having the student, let me show you another example. Here, let's look at transportation. So here are some examples of ways we can transport: car, a wagon, a bus, a jet, a camel. Was it in the past? You're going to figure it out. Car, no, cars It's actually in the present. It was on the past and present. A wagon is in the past. Does it have an engine? Well, is it an animal? Does it have wheels? And then based on this, we can give a definition of transportation. So we know based on this that transportation includes living and non-living things. It includes things in the past and in the present. So that helps us to understand the word transportation. Hierarchical arrays are another strategy. So we can see shelter. That's a common social studies term. Shelters can be permanent or temporary. A temporary shelter is a tent. A permanent shelter can be for people, for animals, or for storage. For people, they can be large, normal, small, and decrepit. And then we have examples of shelters. Linear arrays is another good strategy. This is where we are ordering words by size, expense, intensity, position. So, for example, if this is a linear array for something that's hot. If I wanted to teach students about precision in words, maybe I don't want students to continually say small. Well, they would line up as in, this is tiny. Well, first it'd be minuscule, right? Tiny, small, average, large, and gigantic. Come back after you get dressed. My son said that he's going to come back and see me. Then another strategy, Foursquare vocabulary. This is where we are putting box 1 contains the word. So soothing, describe the word, and have the students give you examples. So music, a bath, a nap are great examples. What are non-examples? Tests, loud noises are not soothing. And then the student can write the definition here. Word sorts are another strategy that you can do. And a word sort, we have open and close sorts. An open sort is when you give students a lot of different words and they put them in categories. A close sort is when you tell them the category. I want to show you a book, and this is called Word Nerds. And actually, 2 of my good friends wrote this book, and they wrote this book out of an extension of a graduate school class. And so I taught with these, actually 3 different teachers that I taught with. So they have, if you get a chance, I would say get this book. Has so many great strategies for vocabulary. And one of the things that Word Nerds talks about is after you have studied vocabulary words, at the end, celebrate, have a block party, have a welcome words. And I actually do this in my class in college. And so I'll have certain vocabulary words and I'll say, I would like you to introduce the word soothing. And they might say, I want you guys to meet soothing. Soothing, wherever soothing goes, everyone seems to calm down. And so they're introducing the word by explaining examples, non-examples, and what the word means. I also do toasting parties. And so sometimes I'll just get a little Dixie cup and put something in it. And then we'll say, today we're going to toast affirmative. And then they're going to explain why. Celebrating Velcro words. I try to explain a Velcro word is a word that sticks to you. And so we're going to celebrate. So have celebrations when your students have learned these vocabulary words. So vocabulary should be taught in all your lessons. It should be intentional, and there should be planning on what words need to be directly taught and what words might be implicitly taught. Okay. So that is all I have to say for this week. I know that was kind of fast and furious, but I wanted you to have an idea of I'm going to stop sharing here, but I wanted you guys to understand this, how we should teach vocabulary and some strategies. Don't forget on that case study, on all of the iReady scores, assume the student is in 4th grade. Okay. That's it. Have a wonderful day.